Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to 115 Gaming, your home for all the tips and tools you need to excel at Six Siege, the board game, and we are back doing some more Six Siege videos. I know it's been a long time, since like April, I think. Took a break from Six Siege for a bit. Haven't taken a break playing it. Took a break from making videos for it because the review video and those gameplay videos took a lot of time and effort. And then we got distracted playing arcs and such. So yeah, going forward, I'm hoping to kind of split my efforts with videos between arcs and Six Siege a little more equally. So right now I put up a poll asking people what they were interested in seeing. And by and large, most people were interested in Fate strategy guides for the arcs campaign, which I'm totally happy to do. I think that's going to be a really fun challenge. However, those are going to take a lot of time because that means I'm going to have to play the ARCS campaign a lot. So while I'm working on the strategy guides for the ARCS Fate campaign strategy guides, I would like to do more videos on Six Siege, so probably operator strategy guides and such. But today, I'm not doing a guide, I'm not doing strategy, well, a little bit. Today, I am finally addressing maybe what is the hottest topic in the Six Siege Discord that I am in, Concilium, and that is the issue of Buck. So if you have spent any time in our Discord channel on Concilium, you will know that there is a huge argument going around about the operator Buck and whether or not he is OP. And basically, the argument is about the fact that Buck can use his floored ceiling tokens, and you can place claymores on those floored ceiling tokens. And basically the idea here is that people think that it is too overpowered. So here I've kind of got a map set up here on Tabletop Simulator, and I'm going to kind of show what the example is here, what people are worried about. So for instance, right now I've got set up cafe. Let's just say we've got Buck on the upstairs right here, all right? Now Buck, he can use one of his 3 actions to drop a floored ceiling token, like so, this vertical room. Now, basically, what people are upset about is now that this token is here, you can throw gadgets down here, deploy gadgets down here, you can overwatch this token, right? All the fun stuff you can do with Buck. Basically, the concern is this. People are worried that if you throw a claymore on top of a hold ceiling token, and then you get either Buck or another operator to destroy the claymore with a destroy action. If we look at the, where is the guide here? If we look at the guide here, it says that when a claymore is destroyed, that means it's tripped. And so operators in the space containing the claymore or adjacent sustain 2 red die of damage. All right, so in this scenario, if Buck moves upstairs, drops a hold ceiling token, and then deploys a claymore here, if somebody comes in and destroys this, then that means 2 red die uncontested of damage would go to this token, right? So let's just do an example here. We roll these dice. All right, we rolled 4 damage. We'd flip this token up. All right, it's the decoy, but let's say, you know, it's the real token, right? That's 4 damage to an operator. And a lot of operators can die straight up from 4 damage. And as you know, this is 2 red, so it could be highly likely that you roll 5 damage, right? Which is the concern here. So basically the concern is this move overpowered? A lot of people in the Concilium Discord call this move busted in the sense that it's a free kill. And what really annoys people about this move is that it's a free kill while the defenders can't do anything to respond to it. Right, so potentially the argument here is that you could kill 1, maybe even multiple defenders, like just straight up in your first activation of the first turn before the defender can actually even respond. And is that overpowered? So I think when described that way, right, the idea that, you know, let's say this happened here and, you know, these 2 tokens were sitting here, right? Or maybe Thunderbird was watching, you know, like this angle, I don't know, something like that, right? And then, you know, Thunderbird is destroyed as well from the 2 red, right? Multiple operators can be destroyed or revealed, right, from this move. And I think when described like that, I can see the concern. All right, I know why people are concerned about this move. I know why some people consider it overpowered. What I would like to present to you today is that the move is not overpowered, all right? And there's a couple of reasons why I think the move is not overpowered. So the first reason I want to talk about this not being overpowered is that a lot of people say that destroying a claymore next to somebody is a guaranteed kill, and you can you can look through the arguments. I have seen multiple people use the words guaranteed kill. All right, so the first reason that this is not an overpowered move is that it's not a guaranteed kill, right? It's a more likely kill than other scenarios, right? Because you're rolling 2 red dice without cover. So I'm not saying it's not powerful, but it's not guaranteed. So in the example that we started with, right, what did I roll? I rolled 4 damage. So let's see here. Well, let me grab the 2, right? Or the 2 damage. Right there, right? So we rolled 4, and let's say this is the real Tachanka. 4 damage would not actually kill Tachanka, all right? Because he's a heavyweight. He would still be alive. So what would happen here is you overextend yourself with Buck, you drop a whole token, you use one of your 2 claymores, and then you don't actually kill the operator. And even though you're not going to completely whiff this attack, there are single damaged results, 2 of them. So it's very possible you could just roll 2 damage. So even a lightweight or a medium weight operator would not actually die. So the first thing I want to address is that, look, rolling 2 red is scary, but it is not a guaranteed kill. And the fact of the matter is, all it takes is 1 time for you to use this Buck Claymore interaction and then not roll well for you to realize, oh, wait a minute, okay, this maybe isn't as good of a move as I thought, right? Because when people are mad about this move, they pitch it as a guaranteed kill, but it's not. You could whiff this roll just like you could whiff any other roll. It's not a guaranteed kill. And as part of that, what you'll notice is that if you whiff the roll, you have put yourself in a not great position. Because the second reason that this is not an overpowered move is that this wastes a lot of action economy and it wastes a lot of utility in order to pull off. So like in this example here, where you use the Buck Claymore thing and either the real Tachanka isn't killed or the decoy is revealed, it doesn't matter, right? Maybe you whiff the roll, maybe you don't. But the point of the matter is, if you whiff the roll, then you have spent one of your 2 claymores that you have for the whole game, and you've spent one of your 3 cubes from Buck that you have for the whole game. Right? So a lot of times with Buck, one of the ways you want to use his hold floor or hold ceiling tokens is you want to be able to position them in like these doorways that you can overwatch, right? So you can cut off movement from the enemy. But if you're just dropping a hold ceiling token in order to throw down a claymore, you've put that hold ceiling token out of position, and you have wasted utility. You've wasted utility from Buck, and you have wasted one of your 2 claymore things, right? Because the fact of the matter is, you can only attempt this Buck Claymore move 2 times total in your entire game. And if you do this move and you don't roll well, or somebody has a heavy, or we'll get to counter strategies later where this move is countered, then you have just wasted 3-4 actions from multiple operators to pull this off, and you have wasted cubes and you have wasted utility. Does that make sense? Right, remember, you can only do this twice because you can only bring up to maximum of 2 claymores. So if this fails once, right, you've totally wasted it. So it's one of those moves where, sure, it's a powerful move, and it is more likely that you will roll high damage instead of low damage. True. However, because it's not guaranteed, and because there are some counter strategies that we'll talk about, if you fail this even 1 time, the amount of effort that you've put in to try and attempt this move is not worth what you've gotten out of it. And so you might as well just use Buck and your claymores for different moves instead of attempting to get a free kill in the first turn of the game. All right, so in this instance, right, like I've said, we've wasted a claymore, we've wasted a Buck floored ceiling token. All right, and kind of what I touched on, not only does it waste a lot of utility, it wastes a lot of action economy. So for instance, in this scenario right here, we need to activate Buck on our first turn. We need to move him upstairs. Then we would need to use his first non-move action to drop a floor ceiling token, then his second action to drop a claymore. All right, then we would need to activate a second operator. It doesn't matter who, let's just say it's Mommy Gridlock. And then we'd have to throw up her and use one of her actions to destroy the claymore. And then we would have, one last action with her. But the point is that you're basically committing Buck entirely to this one move for this turn and, even 2 turns possibly, because now next turn he's also going to have to drop a floor ceiling token and then drop another claymore on top of that, right? So that's your 2 non-move actions for Buck right there, tied up for 2 whole chapters. I was about to say chapters because I'm playing up arcs. 2 whole rounds right there. Buck is tied up on this move, all right? So this wastes a lot of action economy, and it doesn't just waste Buck, it wastes another operator because you need another operator to come in and destroy this, right? So you could get around this, right? Buck could open up the floor ceiling token, and then he could overwatch something, and somebody else could move up, and they could drop a claymore, right? Or somebody could destroy it on the ground floor. The point is that you're having to use a lot of actions from multiple operators in order to coordinate this move. And once again, you're doing all this effort, you're wasting all this utility, you're wasting all these action economies for a move that is not a guaranteed kill, right? So you put in all this effort, and let's say you roll 4, let's say you roll only 5 on a heavy, right? Or it's the decoy. You've put these characters out of position. They're not going to get to Overwatch 2 slots, right? At most, you'll maybe get to Overwatch 1 entryway space for a move that is not a guaranteed kill. Is that worth it? Now, I'm not going to say whether it's worth it or not. I'm just saying that it's up for you to decide. That's the whole point of Succeed. It's up for you to decide whether that move is worth it. Maybe that move is worth it to you, and certainly so. In my mind, obviously, it depends on the situation. But in this particular example right here, right, I don't think so. And just the fact that there are maybe at least half the scenarios where you could attempt this move and it's not worth it shows me that it's not an overpowered move. All right. So what have we talked about so far? 2 red dice is not a guaranteed kill. It wastes a lot of action economy and it wastes a lot of utility. All right. So let's pivot a little bit. All right. I think just on those points alone, I believe you could totally see why I think this move is not overpowered and why I think people are maybe blowing this problem a little bit out of proportion. All right, but let's move on to what could pretty much hard counter this strategy, all right? Because 6 Siege is all about moves and counter moves, right? Picks and counter picks. So the fact of the matter is that as defense, you could actually easily counter this move and make it not as bad as the attackers or the people who hate this seem to think that it is. So firstly, this move can be countered positionally. All right, so the argument is that one Claymore could kill multiple operators off of a single roll, and that's true, right? So, but here's the thing. If you know that a Buck Claymore interaction could kill multiple of your defending operators, all you have to do is just position your operators so they're not within one space of each other, and a single Claymore isn't going to kill multiple of them, right? So if you spread out your operators, like for instance in this example on Cafe, no single Claymore is going to take out more than one operator. And that's just a fact, right? So a lot of people who complain about this move, right, they like to say that it can't be countered, but that's not true. As you play with these moves, you'll realize, again, what I said in my review, 6 Siege is all about positioning, right? Positioning comes into play even in your defense setup. You have to position in a way, looking at your opponent's setup here. For instance, we know that Buck is here. We know that all these operators can drop something out of a hold ceiling token, and we can look at that and be like, okay, I know when I set up, I have to position my operators in order to make the other player put in more effort to use their gadgets, right? I'm not going to give them multiple free kills. On the flip side of that, you can put 2 tokens together, but one of them could be a decoy and one of them could be real, or both of them could be decoys. So though the person wastes all the effort, and sure, they reveal the real positions of the operators, but they've wasted a Claymore and they've wasted all these actions just to flip over a decoy token, right? You could try and bait out the Buck Claymore move with decoy tokens positioned close together, in which case you just completely waste all of the attacker's time. Sure, now they know where you are, but honestly, you've wasted maybe probably one, maybe 2 Claymore actions right there, and maybe 2 of Buck's floor ceiling token plays right there. You might have wasted them just so they could reveal decoy tokens. All right, and then, that's up to you to determine whether or not that's worth it. But as you can see here, this move could be countered positionally, and I've seen some arguments that there are some maps where you have to put ops next to each other, and I just haven't quite seen that, honestly. Like, even the smaller maps, like this is one of the smaller maps, there's still plenty of room to maneuver where you're not putting all of your operators in multiple spaces next to each other. So one, the defense can counter this move just positionally, just by positioning their ops or setting up their operators and gadgets in a way that counters this particular Buck move. But also, it could be countered in the draft ban setup. All right, so for instance, if you're playing the pick ban drafting system, and most likely if you're playing with more than the base box, you are probably definitely playing the pick ban system. And if you're not playing the pick ban system, you should be playing the pick ban system because it's great and it's such a fun way to play the game. But here's the deal. You could just ban Buck, all right? So from the outset, while you're playing pick ban, if the attackers don't pick Buck on their first turn, you could just ban him, and now you don't have to worry about the Buck Claymore move at all. If you're really that upset about it, just don't even worry about it, ban Buck. Here's the thing though, the attacker gets to pick first in the pick ban setup. So what happens if they pick Buck? Well, as I'm about to show you, you can pick 2 to 3 operators that absolutely hard counter Buck's strategy from the get-go. All right, so let's flip over to the defense side right here. All right, what happens if you can't ban Buck? Well, there are 2 methods. All right, there's 3 operators that hard counter Buck's move, and then there are just a general class operator that you could use that counter Buck's move. All right, so here are the 3 right here. We got Rook. All right, when you pick Rook, you get to have the 3 armor plates, and you get to throw them on top of operators of health 6 or less, and that gives them 1 extra health. So if you throw these armor plates on a medium weight operator, they now have 6 health. That means that on a 2 red roll, that you would have to roll the highest result possible in order to get a kill. All right, which again, like we've talked about, is not guaranteed and is not likely. 4 to 5 is generally the average. So even just a 6 health operator is probably generally going to survive this roll unless they roll right 2-3 damage results. Okay, and the good thing is, remember about the device rolling is that you can't use your reroll token on these. So if they whiff this roll, they don't roll, literally the best result they can, then, they're screwed. You haven't died and you're still alive, right? So Rook, that's a counter to Buck right there. But hey, 1 armor plate, that's not enough. I can hear you say it, and you know what? I agree with you, right? That's not enough. But hey, here's another operator. Let me show it to you. Doc. In line of sight, you can use one of his 2 cubes, just heal 3 damage from a targeted operator. Hey, so in this scenario, maybe somebody has an armor plate and they use the Buck Claymore move, and hey, yeah, they didn't die, Ethan, you say, but they have 1 health left because they rolled 5 damage, which is like the average result of 2 red. I hear ya. Just use Doc and heal 3 of those damage. It's as simple as that. But hey, I can hear you say, Ethan, what if the operator does die? Well, no worries. Doc has this line of sight ability. When it's a reaction, so when another operator is eliminated, you can reveal Doc, and if they're in line of sight, you spin a cube and you stop the operator from dying. And sure, they'll only have 1 health left and they'll be stunned, but hey, you can heal them later if you want, right? That is an option. All that to say is that if you position Doc near places where you think somebody might use the Buck Claymore move, even if they roll the highest result they can roll, they're not going to die with Buck, right? And in the likelihood that they don't die, but they have, only 1 health left, you can just heal them with Doc, right? Like, Doc is a great counter pick to this Buck strategy. And then finally, you got Thunderbird. So Thunderbird, she's got the Kona stations. You place up to 3 Kona stations on heavy walls, and then anytime an operator in a room containing one of the stations takes hits, they get to ignore 1 damage. All right. So again, the same thing, right? Somebody uses the Buck Claymore move, and let's say this is real, they rolled 5 damage. In this instance, if there was a Kona station in this room, which there is, they would only take 4 damage instead of 5 damage. So right now we might potentially have a Tachanka that's only 4 out of 6 damage on his player board. I think that's pretty good. You heal him with Doc, he only has 1 damage. Basically, you've got a full Tachanka up and running about. Any one of these operators, I think, reduces Buck's risk a little bit, but all you have to do is take 2 of these, right? And you mix them together, and pretty much it's a guarantee the Buck move is not going to kill you. If you have all 3 of these together, then Buck is most certainly not going to kill you, right? You have basically hard countered this move completely, all right? And the final thing that you can do is you can pick heavy characters, right? So for instance, I just put a couple of other heavy characters on this squad. You might not want to do that if you bring Rook. But again, right, in order for this move to work, if you have a bunch of heavy characters, then you're forcing the Buck Claymore move. You're forcing that player, they have to roll the highest result they can roll in order to kill the operator outright. And if you mix heavies with some of these operators, right, like Thunderbird or Doc, they are guaranteed not to die. They're guaranteed not to die. So finally, I would just like to say that I've seen, when I've brought up this hard counter strategy, one of the things I've heard from people is they're upset that playing Buck is forcing you into a certain play style in order to counter Buck, and that shows why it is overpowered. But I just disagree with that notion, because 6 Siege as a game in general is all about picking operators that force your opponent to change up their strategy in order to adapt to you, right? That's how the game works. You bring Buck, which means the defense has to bring something else to try and counter Buck. Defense brings something like Clash, or bring someone like Echo, and that the attacker is going to have to bring somebody else that can counter that, right? That can get around that shield or does a high damage. Like, that's the whole thing, is you pick operators that you're trying to force your opponent on the back foot, so they have to pick operators that both counter your picks, but also put them on the advantage, right? That's the whole point of the game. And so no, I don't see this as overpowered just because somebody brings Buck, and so you have to change up your play style. That doesn't really mean anything to me, because any operator that an attacker brings, you're going to have to change up your play style, right? You're going to have to bring a different operating team if somebody's bringing Blitz, right? Or somebody's bringing Gridlock, right? If somebody brings Blitz, you're like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to bring Warden so that stunning doesn't affect me, right? Like, that's just how the game works. And so no, I don't see it as a problem that if somebody brings Buck, that you have to bring, at least 2 or 3 of these operators to counter him, because that's the whole point of the game, right? And you don't have to bring all 3 of these. You can just bring 1 and you would probably be fine. But I hope what you can see here is if you mix positioning your defenders well in their setup along with your team comp well, you are guaranteed to completely counter this Buck move completely. And if you're countering the Buck move completely, then either 1, they're not going to use the Claymore floor to ceiling token, interaction. So either they're not going to use the interaction at all, or they're going to use it and they're just going to waste a bunch of actions and utility trying to get the most out of it, which is not going to work for them. And either of those options, like, you're solid, right? Like, you just don't have to worry about it at all. Or 2, you're wasting the attacker's time, which as the defense, that's what your job is wasting the attacker's time. So, just as a quick recap, is the Buck Claymore move broken? No. It's not broken because 2 red dice is not a guaranteed kill. It's not broken because it wastes a lot of the attacker's action economy. It wastes a lot of the attacker's utility. It's not broken because it can be countered positionally, and it can be countered through the team draft setup. So that is my definitive answer to the Buck Claymore problem. I'm basically making this video because I'm tired of arguing about this, and if anybody asks my opinions on it, I will just show them this video, and hopefully you can show them this too. I don't want to be that guy, right? Because this sounds so elitist. But from what I've seen as 6 Siege was landing in people's hands and people were getting the game, I think it speaks to a broader problem that I've seen a lot, where a lot of people are playing the game a couple times, and what I've seen happen is, because this game is such a strategic tactical game, and because you can get punished for your mistakes so hard, I've seen that people's habit is, when they've encountered a scenario where they've gotten probably mercilessly destroyed by this Buck move, we jump too quickly to the assumption that something is broken, when what we should be doing instead, especially in a game like 6 Siege, is when you encounter a move like the Buck Claymore move, don't immediately jump to, well, I got ruined by this move, so the move is broken. You should step back and ask yourself first, okay, what can I do to counter this move in the future? Now that I know it is possible, is there a way that I can play that either counters the move or reduces its damage significantly, right? These are the kind of questions that you need to be asking yourself all the time in 6 Siege. Now, if we were to have this conversation and I couldn't point out these like 5 reasons or these counters or these ways that you can play that could counter this move, then yeah, it would be broken. But as you can see, I just listed 5 reasons why this isn't broken and how you can counter it. So that literally means that it is not an OP move. So instead, I want people, before they rush online and say, hey, this thing is broken, it needs to be redesigned after, losing to it one time, step back and be like, okay, did I make the mistake? Did I play in such a way that opened myself up to be vulnerable to such a move? And then secondly, can I change the way I'm playing next time in order to counter that move? And if the answer to either of those is no, then yeah, it's busted. But in this case, you can clearly see that it's not busted whatsoever. So there you go, guys. That's your 6 Siege video today. There's my definitive answer on whether or not the Buck Claymore move is broken. One of these days, I also want to address the idea that an unactive attacking operator can reveal a decoy token just by being in line of sight. We've argued about that move as well. Maybe I'll do a video on that because I don't think that is busted either, but maybe that's a topic for another time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, guys. I'm glad to be back doing 6 Siege videos, and I hope this can just show you guys don't be worried about Buck. You can play against Buck and you can counter him. It's not that big of a deal. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. You'll have a good one. I'll see you next time.